get on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Steves?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple of things. First of all, I would like to say thanks to Kevin Buxton for bringing up actually the tax issue, because I had emailed the manager and Will Knoyer about that. Because I was wondering how the system was, how the individual figures were actually calculated. I know you said that he was going to send us an email, and I haven't seen it yet. Or I'm sorry, he said that he had sent out an email, and I haven't seen it yet. Will Knoyer had contacted you and Will Knoyer about the way the individual household taxes, property taxes, were calculated, and I ran into Will, and he said that he had written something up and sent it to you to send to us, and I know I haven't seen it. So I was wondering what happened with that.
Here.
Because I know I was concerned about the fact that I know when we got the bill personally, the 5% hike that we'd been told to expect, we got 7+%. And I know, I'm assuming other people, when I talked to Will very briefly, he mentioned that it's actually a range of percentages. So I don't really know how that's calculated. I know I would love to know. I bet a lot of other people would too. So.
Yeah. Mr. Pecos has a response for you.
Let me go through the 4 questions, Gus, because it struck Will and I that this would be very, very beneficial for the public to hear. And my apologies, as I just this moment noticed, Will sent this to me. I was supposed to forward it to you today, and I got a little slammed and didn't get a chance to get to emails as well as I should have. But there's some very good detailed answers to your question. So the first question that Gus asked is, why is the actual tax hike higher than what we were told to expect? Now, everybody remembers we were told to expect something a little over 5%. And here's the answer from Will. The actual tax increase for any class of property is what the board stated, Board of Assessors, for the average property in that class. Now, you recall we have residential, commercial, industrial, and open space. Those are the 4 classes. We use the same method to calculate this as the Massachusetts Department of Revenue in all cities and towns in the state. To calculate this average, you use the following method. You take the total value of that class and divide it by the total number of parcels in that class. This yields the average value of properties in that class. For example, the total value of all the single-family parcels in town is $431,229,500, or just shy of $500 million. If you divide that by 2,713, which is the number of single-family parcels, you get an average value of $158,949, average value of a home. If you divide that, if you then multiply this average value of a single-family home by the tax rate of $20.36 per $1,000, it yields an average single-family property tax bill of $3,236.21. That's the average tax bill for a single-family home for this fiscal year.
I got that.
If you compare that with the average single-family tax from previous fiscal year, last year, which was $3,078.02, you get an increase of $158.19, or 5.14%, which is exactly what the assessors presented.
I got that. Yeah.
So that's
I understood that.
average.
I understood that.
Okay. As stated, this is the methodology used by the Department of Revenue in all cities and towns in calculating average single-family tax bills for comparison. However, with 2,713 single-family parcels, some properties will go up more than average, which also means some properties will go up less than average, based on changes in real estate values in any given year. And that's determined by the home, the neighborhood, and a lot of factors that go into that. So, if an individual homeowner gets a bill higher or lower than $158.19 more than last year, or 5.14% more or less, it's because every home is going to deviate from that average. That's what an average is, spread over 2,700 parcels. Your second question, when do you calculate the new property values and how? The town of Southbridge is required by law to update all property values to full and fair cash value annually based on Department of Revenue requirements. We do this following Department of Revenue requirements and use mass appraisal methods. And all of our valuations are submitted for their approval. In addition, every 3 years, we perform a full revaluation or recertification, which must be approved by the Department of Revenue. This ensures that every property owner is valued at full and fair cash value each year and thus pays their fair share of the tax burden. Everything that we do is based on state law and regulations as directed by the Department of Revenue. Now, again, it's important to state that any individual home may have a higher or lower value than what the town assesses it at, based upon changes in the marketplace that can occur a day after the day we're finished. In other words, the assessors set a value on homes as of a certain date, and right after that date, that value can differ. Generally speaking, values go up, and so right after that, so if a homeowner sells their home, or their neighbor sells their home, and you compare the actual sale to what the assessed value is, there may well be a difference. In fact, I can almost guarantee there is. Part of that is because of the timing. We set values as of a certain date each year, June 30th.
Is that the date, June 30th?
And you have to also remember this is called mass appraisal. There is no practical system that allows any city or town to take those 2,713 residential parcels and individually determine the value of each individual home. That would take tremendous time. So it's done on a mass appraisal system, and naturally there's some variation between what the assessed value is and the actual value if a piece of property sells. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Next question, why aren't the property value increases included in the average tax hikes? In our presentation at the council meeting, slide number 14, shown below, gave the overall property value charges. Unfortunately, I can't show this slide. This week, I've received a small number of inquiries, less than 10, from residents in regard to their tax bills. Some went up more than the average and some less. This is normal every year following the mailing of the tax bills for the reasons I already stated. So any individual homeowner is not going to go up exactly 5.13%. They could go up less, they could go up a little more, and in a very, very few number of cases, there's a few homes out there that will go up exactly 5.13%, but that's pretty rare, obviously. So I hope that's helpful. I'm glad Councilor Steves asked these questions. I'm glad we were able to get this out because I'm sure councilors are hearing these kinds of questions perhaps from other people. And this is terrifically complex stuff. And I know I've only scratched the surface, but I would invite anyone who wants more definitive explanation to call the assessor's office or call my office also, and I'd be more than happy to speak with people, or call Yvonne in my office, make an appointment and come on in and we'll go through it with them in detail.
Sure, well, before you do, Councilor Steve still has the floor.
I did, because I did ask specifically. So are these calculated every year on June 30th?
The values are set every year. Correct me, it may be valued as of December 31st. I'd have to check whether it's December 31st or another date. But the value is set each year on the same date as of that date. And then the minute that value is set, of course, the very next day, so a house is assessed for a certain value. The very next day, the market will cause that actual value to go up or down. In other words, if the town says your home is valued at $150,000 today, tomorrow, because of the natural increase in real estate, your house would be worth a little more. But we don't reset that value until a year later for tax purposes. So if a homeowner sells their house, a real arm's length transaction, and that of course sets the true value. If they sell their home, it can very well deviate from where we have it assessed because the sale may occur later. In addition, there's some variation due to the fact that we have to appraise all 3,000 parcels every year, and we have no practical way to set the value dead on the button for every single property. That's called mass appraisal. So we try to get it within certain tolerances. The important thing is everybody is valued according to those same relative variances. So it's not like one property is getting valued higher than another. That's not how it works.
He has a question. Go ahead.
We're into the third quarter's tax statement was sent out. The first two quarters, okay, which was the last two quarters of the calendar year, they didn't include a tax increase.
Correct.
So these last two quarters include a double tax increase for the first two quarters that the taxes didn't go up.
Correct.
All right? So if he sees a 7% increase in his taxes, it's really 3.5 because he didn't get the 3.5 the first two quarters.
That's
Does that answer your
absolutely
question?
correct.
Okay.
You're essentially paying your tax retroactively.
Okay, but all the stuff you're sending out is complicated and everything, but this is the simple layman explanation. Because I'm getting a tremendous amount of calls, and I could have stated this tonight, but I'll leave this to the next meeting, okay? Thank you very much.